Thank you, everyone. Good morning, and welcome to the release of our Status of Women in Missouri Research Update. Our format will begin with an overview, and then we are going to end with an opportunity for you to ask questions. If you would rather post a question in the chat bubble, it is located at the top of your screen in the header. There's some green bubbles, and you can click on the chat, and as we go along, feel free and comfortable to post a question there. If not, we will open it up for questions and answers at the end of the overview. So what I'd like to ask is if you could please put your phones on mute, and we will jump in and get started. So my name is Wendy Doyle, and I have the pleasure of serving as the President and CEO of the Women's Foundation. As you can see on this first slide, this is our mission, and it identifies the work of the Foundation. We believe in promoting equity and opportunity for women of all ages, and our work is focused on research, philanthropy, and policy to impact change and get results. Joining me on today's call is Emily Johnson, and she is Associate Director and Chief Operating Officer at the Institute of Public Policy, Truman School of Public Affairs at the University of Missouri. Before I turn it over to Emily to walk through the research findings, I would like to provide you a little bit of background to how and why we got here today. In 2014, the Women's Foundation partnered with the Institute of Public Policy and Sounding House, a market research firm located in Kansas City, to conduct quantitative and qualitative research with the goal of improving the lives of women and their families. Bottom line, we took the time to really listen to women of all income levels, including men, around the state of Missouri. This data was collected and organized by the Institute into 5 key indicators, which has provided a real focus for the Foundation. This study was a significant investment for the Women's Foundation, and the why we did it is really twofold. First, we learned that it had been about 20 years since such a comprehensive study had been completed for Missouri. So we view this as a real gift to share back with the state of Missouri. Secondly, we wanted to establish a baseline report so that we could start to benchmark progress. Now, 2 years later, we are announcing our first update to the data set and the new findings on the status of women in Missouri. This practice is our intent for the study. So we really want to look at preserving what we've invested in and to update the data and continue to benchmark progress about every 2 to 3 years. I would like to thank and recognize the Ewing Marion Kauffman Foundation for their generous support and who has made this research update possible. Now, just as a reminder, if I could ask you to mute your phones. Again, I would like to turn it over to Emily Johnson to walk us through the research highlights. Emily.
Thank you, Wendy. Good morning. I am proud to be here to discuss the Status of Women in Missouri report and findings. As Wendy mentioned, this is the second Status of Women in Missouri report completed by the Institute of Public Policy. The first report, released in 2015, established a baseline for key data points in 5 issues that reflect the status of women in Missouri. The current report provides an update on those key indicators and supplies additional data and analysis to provide context and a deeper understanding of the lives of women in Missouri. This report also identifies policy considerations that impact the status of women within each of the issue areas. A strong foundation of research and data analysis can empower efforts to design effective policies which impact women's lives. For the Status of Women in Missouri report, we have analyzed data in 5 key areas: employment and income, education and childcare, health, social and economic indicators, and leadership and public engagement. To augment the areas of interest, this report also highlights the following categories to provide additional detail related to the issues experienced by children, girls and young women, working women, older women, women of color, and women veterans and military spouses. Now to get into the lead indicators. The lead indicator in employment and income is the earnings gap between men and women in Missouri. In Missouri, women who work full-time year-round earn 22% less than male workers, or only 78 cents for every dollar a man earns. This earning gap has decreased over time, but has reached a plateau and remained at or around this percentage for years. At the national level, women earn about 80 cents for every dollar a man earns. The lead indicator in education and child care is the number and distribution of accredited child care centers in Missouri. 38% of counties in Missouri do not have any accredited child care centers, which is fewer than in 2013 when only 27% of counties had none. 3 of these counties without accredited child care centers have the highest percentage of children under age 4. The cost of child care for infants in Missouri can be between $5,600 and $8,700 annually, which is higher than a year's tuition at a public university in some cases. The lead indicator in health is the proportion of Missourians without health care coverage. 9.8% of Missourians are without health care coverage, which can have long-term impacts for the well-being of women and their families. 60% of those uninsured in Missouri are women, and there are 33 counties where more than 1/5 of the population is uninsured. The lead indicator in the social and economic issue area is the poverty rate of women 65 and older. In Missouri, 10.3% of women over 65 were in poverty in 2015. The poverty rate of women 75 and older is almost 2 times higher than the poverty rate of men 75 and older in both Missouri and the U.S. 2/3 of Missouri seniors living in poverty are women. The lead indicator in leadership and public engagement is the proportion of women representation in public office. Even though women compose approximately 51% of the state's population, only 22.3% of the 2017 General Assembly seats are held by women, down from 25% in 2015. Only 24% of state court judges are women. Only 19% of all state prosecutors are women. And only 2 sheriffs in the state of Missouri are women. Women often face persistent gender disparities in several crucial aspects of their daily lives. Issues in one area are not separated from issues in another area. In fact, struggles across multiple areas can compound and escalate difficulties for women. Critical issues such as poverty, lack of education, unemployment, lack of health care, and pay inequity can have a compounding effect on women as they attempt to overcome obstacles and provide for themselves and their families.
Thank you, Emily. And again, I would like to recognize Emily and her leadership and the Institute of Public Policy for their work and their partnership. What we are wanting to accomplish with this is, as you can see, there's lots of work to be done. So first and foremost, we want to continue to build awareness of the issues and of what the findings are telling us. Secondly, as I mentioned in the opening, our objective for the Women's Foundation is to really benchmark and invest in this research to have the baseline to start to monitor our progress moving forward for Missouri. So again, our practice is going to be about every 2 to 3 years we will be updating these data sets. Third, we want to develop policy solutions and really develop partnerships around Missouri and share this information so that we can start to move forward as a state and see some results for women and their families. On the next slide, what you're going to see is really how we, as the Women's Foundation, are taking these findings into practice. So this is some of the work that we have accomplished since this was released in 2015. I'm going to start at the bottom of the slide. So as you saw from the civic leadership gap, Missouri is not moving forward. We're actually moving backwards. And the Women's Foundation established the Appointments Project really to address this issue. And this really is to start to engage women in in cities and at the state level to get appointed to boards and commissions and start to use their voice to address some of these issues. So that's a practice and a solution the Women's Foundation has developed and we will continue to focus on. Secondly, I want to draw your attention to pay equity, and equal pay for equal work has been a real focus. A couple of results in areas that we're working on is Governor Nixon was really supportive of the Women's Foundation and established Executive Order 15-09 about a year ago, and this really called for developing best practice guidelines on how to close the pay gap between women and men. And then April 10th of 2016, Governor Nixon called for a directive and asked the Office of Administration to take those best practice guidelines and to apply them to the state workforce. So we couldn't be more pleased with the progress that we made for Missouri in that, and we hope to continue that under the new administration. The third thing that we're working on is looking at occupational licensing, and this is a real focus for us this legislative session. And again, trying to look at how we can further promote entrepreneurship for women to bring dollars back to household budgets. So keep an eye on this. I think the final thing, as you see here, is looking at the paid family medical leave, which is an area and what we heard loud and clear around the state of, taking care of children and elder care are real key issues for families and household budgets. So it's something, too, that we're working on.